Hey guys, it's me. It's your buddy Gabe Tabe. Every time I come in from the intro video, I'm glad my microphone is on. I've had that thing muted too many times. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I haven't seen you guys in a while. I guess I've been on Ethan's show a little bit. I've got a lot of new equipment, new cameras, new microphone. I wonder if I sound any different. It's been a great time off with family and this and that, but I'm so glad to be back here with my buddy Shanth. So Happy New Year, Shanth. How are you doing tonight?
Happy New Year to you, brother. I'm doing great, man. I'm happy to be here, and yeah, we were just talking before the stream started that every day in Comicsgate seems to blend together because we're working around the clock in several different countries at all times and shipping packages out. But it's great to be here, brother. I hope you had a Merry Christmas. I did as well, if you did. So right on.
Yeah, no, we had a great one here with just a small one with just the family, the wife and the two kids. My kids are adults, but yeah, it was just us and stuff. And we did the same for New Year's too, but we had a lot of fun. I don't know. I'm quite the pizza maker. I make homemade dough and all that, and I made a bunch of pizza on New Year's Eve. So that was
nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. What do you guys have any crazy traditions for what you cook, or do you cook anything or any specialties for Christmas?
I can't cook for anything.
Really?
I can't handle that kind of equipment. But my wife cooks us a Christmas dinner, and then we do we've got very Southern traditions, so we do ham and cheese grits. So yeah, so very, very Southern. And then, it's just it was cool because about a year ago I decided to kind of practice what I preach, and I always tell people, pick up a skill whenever you can. And so I started taking violin lessons a year ago, so I was able to play and learn just practicing by ear different Christmas songs, and it was nice. It was really cool to be able to play my wife's favorite Christmas songs for yeah, I mean, it's the best. I love that time. Christmas is awesome.
Yeah, it really is. I still have my tree and my lights up on my house and everything.
Yeah, you too.
It's very hard for me to take them down because I love it so much.
Yeah.
I put them up as soon as possible. I always wait till Thanksgiving. I try to have a little bit of class. This year I put up the lights 2 days before Thanksgiving. I couldn't wait anymore. So
you got it sometimes.
Yeah. No, it was fantastic. Christmas Eve, I watched both Charlie Brown specials on my iPad while my wife and I made sugar cookies and frosted them with my son.
Sugar cookies, man.
And we watched It's a Wonderful Life. And I don't know what, every time I watch It's a Wonderful Life, there must be like dust in the air or something happened.
Yeah.
And I feel like moistening in the eyes, but I don't think it's any crying or anything. I'm sure for a big, strong man like me, it's dust.
No, what it is when they made that movie, a lot of people don't know this, but when they made that movie and they shot it back in the day on film, they got a whole bunch of chopped onions in the reel, and those just every printing. They just did that film, Blu-ray, DVD, doesn't matter. It's format skipping onions. So it goes everywhere.
When the druggist is slapping George Bailey in the ear, when he does it, I almost lose it every time I see that.
I do too, man.
That man physically abusing George Bailey, and he's crying. He's saying, "I know you feel bad. I know you're sad. You're so bad." And he's having grace to this man who's literally beating him. Because he knows the man just found out he lost his son. Spoiler, I guess. That's like a 60, 70-year-old spoiler if you haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
The greatest American movie ever made, in my opinion. So.
It is. Yeah, we've had this conversation that when this was also, I'm pretty sure this predates, no, it might have been around the same time as Comicsgate. I don't know what was influencing what, but I would like to think that it was Comicsgate that was influencing it. When I decided to design a logo that had Liberty in it, was because of Liberty Films and what amazing artist and patriot, the director and the craftsman Capra's, amazing work in that film. It's just incredible. Right. But yeah, man, it's weird that again, we're kind of like 3 for 3. Maybe it's because we don't want Christmas to end, but we've got these Christmas themes, right? In these movies we're looking at.
That's today's theme. Everyone knows that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and I think it is because it's a fun thing to believe. But I watched over the Christmas break. I didn't work for a couple days for once. I watched Lethal Weapon because I think Mel Gibson has a magnetic personality, so charismatic. And I had never seen Lethal Weapon. I realized I'd seen scenes and bits in the last half hour, and I kind of thought I had seen it. And I thought, I've never actually seen it. I've just seen bits of all of these movies. So over the course of 2 days, I watched all 4 Lethal Weapon movies, and I maintain that Lethal Weapon is a better Christmas movie than Die Hard. What say you?
Oh, I don't know. I see. To me, the ultimate Christmas movie is It's a Wonderful Life. And so if Lethal Weapon was going to be a great Christmas movie, it would have to have a lead character who was contemplating ending his own life around. You know what? Never mind. Oh. I think Lethal Weapon is now officially a great Christmas movie. Think about that for a minute, man. I didn't even think about that till just now. I didn't even think about it. You said it, that George Bailey wanted to kill himself and Martin Riggs wanted to kill himself at the holidays. He's looking for a reason to go on, and that reason to go on, right, is, you know, did you see Lethal Weapon 5? Is that an Always Sunny reference?
Well, let me interrupt you for 1 second. I'm sorry. And just say hello to the chat. I didn't say anything at first because I was waiting for people to come in. But Admiral Wackass is here. What About is here. Brother. Nico Tronis, Tario Way. Tari I've known since forever. Leg Kick, of course, is here. Wiley J. Draws. Who else? Mike Kennard. Oh, I love this comment from Wiley J. Draws. I love it. We miss the American Revolution, the rock and roll revolution, but we get to witness and partake in the comics revolution. I love it, buddy. That's a great comment there. Let's see. Jay Lee is here. Oh, I know James Lee. I've done a little work with him. It's a little secret though. Our first incorrect fan of the night. I love Die Hard. Don't get me wrong. I just said Lethal Weapon is better to like stir shit up. I don't even know if I believe it myself. But yes, hello to one and all coming in here. But so where were you? You were saying that you just realized, like right now, live, that Martin Riggs wants to kill himself and George Bailey wants to kill himself.
Well, you said you were saying that about, like, it's funny, you know, I think we talked about Jordan Peterson before, and that whole aspect of, you know, where he was talking to that interviewer who he demolished, and he said, you know, you have to be able to talk in order to think, you know, and he was saying that, you know, you will be wrong, you will say something that people don't like to hear, blah blah blah. But it's I've been thinking about that a lot when I was talking to my wife the other day, and I said, you know, to her, I go, you know, sometimes we have to talk these things out. So, yes, absolutely. That's the funniest thing about it, is either you could argue Danny Glover is his Clarence, or eventually you could even say in the very end of the whole series, right, that Joe Pesci is his Clarence.
Right.
But I think without a doubt, you know, it's he's his conscience. And he kind of, you know, it's kind of a strange thing, though, because he's got a unique role, because he's not just Clarence. And this is a weird parallel to throw in there, but he's almost married. He's the connection to family, and he's the one with the big family with all the kids who, when he comes back from the brink, that's the table he's going to sit at, you know, is Murtaugh's table with his family and his daughter and that life. And it really is about going, you know, finding that place where you feel at home. You know, and it's like, yeah, it's Admiral Wackass. That's a really good question. I think the weirdest thing about Lethal Weapon and that movie, I think, is what we do in the absence of, or I should say, in the absence or the states between finding our family. Those can be a close group of friends. That could be our partner's family. That could be our own family. But that's such an important thing, you know, and the ruin of the druggist in It's a Wonderful Life comes from the fact that he's lost his son, and you know, you've got Riggs, who's lost the love of his life. He's lost his wife. It's like, you know, he's a great character. He's one of the great American action characters.
Yeah. So like I said, I hadn't seen the movie from start to finish till, you know, a week ago, and I didn't know it. And I'd never seen the scene where he puts the gun in his mouth. And he has a special bullet that he's going to kill himself with. He saved this one bullet, and he shows it to Danny Glover or Murtaugh later. And I think he shows it to him in that movie, or is it in the second one? It must be in the first one, because they resolved.
It's in the first one, yeah.
But for those of you that don't remember, the movie is basically about, you got the suicidal cop. He doesn't care what happens to him because his wife died a few years ago, and then he gets paired up with Danny Glover, who just turned 50 and I'm too old for this shit. You know, he's like, he's going to retire. That's his catchphrase. And he's a great family man. Danny Glover, he's Murtaugh. He's a great family man. He's got a wonderful wife, 3 great kids. And they take, and you know, when he becomes the partner, Mel Gibson becomes the partner, he kind of gets closer to their family, and it gives him some light again in his life. It gives him a feeling of purpose and like, I don't know, just some levity for his spirit. It starts to lift him up a little bit to see the successful family, and all that blackness that he's staring into constantly starts to melt away. So it really does have a deep message there on this character arc. And I wasn't aware of it because I'd only seen highlights of it for years.
Well, and he's unlike, the one thing that's interesting, unlike someone like John McClane, who we've talked about, he's, and even in Van Damme's case, he's much less Van Damme and much more, if we were to talk about, even though he predates him, he's much more Steven Seagal. Like he's a one-man wrecking crew with the 3 Stooges in his brain.
That's fun.
You know, he's just, you know.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's really strange. He confronts some guys. He's gonna buy some cocaine from some guys at a Christmas tree lot. Again, this is a Christmas movie.
Seriously,
and
man.
They pull a gun on him, and it's like he doesn't even care if they shoot him almost. He just, and then that's you're seeing his death wish, his suicidal tendency. And I think, you know, and that's directly, I know that's because of his wife and all that. And that's why that's the incident that happens before he gets paired up with Danny Glover, is that his bosses at the police station are just like, they've had it with his recklessness, because he's basically become fearless because he feels like he has nothing to live for. I like this comment here. Admiral Wackass says, that's really cool. Never noticed all those parallels. Remember when people knew how to write movies?
That's right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is Shane Black, right? He did like The Last Boy Scout. He did a lot of great movies, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think this is the other thing too, is that there's this you know, God, here's an old, hey, what's up, Scottsley? Hail to you, brother. And this is the thing about it, right? There's this law of diminishing return that comes from, it's like when to use old expression, you know, you take a photocopy of something, then you photocopy it, and you photocopy it, and you photocopy it. The better the source material you're stealing from, the better your work, your knockoff is going to be. So they were stealing from better writers, even when they were making this movie. You know, that scene right there, what I'll never forget is the kid going, he had a tattoo, and they're trying to figure out what tattoo it is. And then he points at Riggs's tattoo. He goes, that was the tattoo. And he goes, exactly like this? And he's like, yeah, exactly like that. And you go, and you could see, like, you know, everything from that moment. The economy of script writing, but this is like, they gave you things that I don't, you know, when they say things sometimes like, oh, back then they used to think the audience was smart. I always say, I think it was more that the writers were smart and they knew how to work with human beings. Right. Do you get what I mean? Like, they understood how we process story. And, you know, it's funny too, because I really identified with Martin Riggs's character as a kid. Like, I liked that idea of, you know, if you're a kid and you feel like, what's the point at a certain point, whatever is going on in your life. I remember thinking it would be tough, but it wasn't like, you know, to be like, I don't care if I die, or I don't care what happens to me or whatever. And, you know, through characters like that, it kind of allows you that if this person who's this tough, who's this hardcore, whatever, needs this stuff in his life, then man, I better go out and get it. You know, I better get some meaning in my life. I better go out and meet some people. I mean, God, isn't that why we're here? You know, this, you know, fellowship of Comicsgate. I mean, that's what it is, man.
Right. And, you know, I wonder about that, because I think in the 80s and the 90s, and then in the late 90s, I think it turned bad. But I think you had characters like this that were flawed, and they had deep, serious, realistic problems, but it wasn't cynical. They were going to find a good way out of it. And I think that's what's missing today in a lot of writing, is it's dark and deep and ugly, but that ugliness is never called evil. It's too postmodern now. Like, hey, man, who's to say what's right or wrong? You know, that's just your way of thinking. And I think that objectivism about good and evil has really been lost in modern entertainment and fiction. You know, and I think here it's done with nuance. Like, no, hopelessness and suicide is bad. It's not glorified here. You know, he needs to find a way out, and he does.
And you know, I mean, that's a short, you know, that's a short story. Like there's nothing to tell right after that point. And it was funny. I love, this is the favorite thing I love about our chat. Hail chat, by the way, everybody. I love when the quotes start coming in. Riggs, Murtaugh in my office now. You know, it's
Right.
like, I love seeing these things, man.
Right.
And yeah, 30 years old, Micro, my God.
Yeah.
That's
that's right. Yeah, he was very young, because I looked him up when I was watching the movies. I'm like, how old is Mel Gibson? Like 75? He's only 64. So he's still, you know, I thought he was going to be way older when I looked it up. So he was very young when he did this.
Yeah, I mean, he's and you know, the thing about it is too is that while there are certain heroes that kids have, Loaded Weapon Part 1, absolutely. I'm your worst nightmare. One of my favorite moments. We'll see if you know, nana. You know, if you're gonna say Loaded Weapon Part 1 was excellent, then you got to finish the quote or the response to "I'm your worst nightmare." What's the response? Let's have it in the chat. But the thing about it is that I may have taken a bad turn though in my youth, because I do think at a certain point when you're picking characters to idolize in movies, in Lethal Weapon, the first Lethal Weapon movie, there's Riggs, there's Murtaugh, but there was a part of me that was kind of into Mr. Joshua.
Oh, really?
When he puts that cigar out, I thought, man, that's badass.
Okay, that's untraditional, but I'll
it's
allow
not. Yeah,
it.
or no, sorry, it wasn't a cigar. It was a match hold under his arm. I was like, I remember seeing that the first time I saw that. I was like, this is terrifying. Like this dude is.
And who was that actor? Who was
Gary
that?
Busey, man.
Right, with those teeth. My goodness.
Yeah, because that match was frightened of Gary Busey. Was like, I got to get the hell out of here.
Right.
Gary Busey's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, so they were. That was the plot where they were using the special forces, like former special forces guy, to smuggle the drugs. Right? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Because I watched all 4 of them in 2 days, so the plot's a little scrambled in my head of these movies. So you'll have to forgive me on that.
Yeah, there's enough cocaine in 80s movies to, you know, blanket the planet. I mean, It's just cocaine all the time. Oh, looks like we got the response.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, that's some. See, and this is the thing. What I've seen, I remember, which is terrifying sometimes. But yeah, it was. If I'm not mistaken, I think it might have been. Was it Tim Curry who was the villain in that? Who was playing the psycho villain? But yeah, this is a favorite 80s action movie, Paul. We're happy to do it, man. Happy to do it.
Yeah, Paul, and well, don't thank us. Thank you for being here and commenting and all that, because this is so much fun to talk about these things we love. Let me digress a little sidetrack to talk about that. I kind of fell into some Twitter arguing with anti-Kafkaesque people and this and that, and I deleted the tweets, all that, and I started thinking, you know what? It's so much better when we just talk about what we love instead of, oh, I hate feminists and I hate this and that and the other.
Yeah.
And I'm as guilty as anyone. And it feels gross. You get in a fight and you win, right? You insult them and everyone laughs at them.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is not who I am. I never have done this kind of crap. I don't want to do this. It's so much more fun to just say, you know what? That thing I don't like, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to talk about what I love. Like, I don't like seafood. I know some of you, many of you do. I don't. What I'm not going to do is make 500 YouTube videos about how I hate Red Lobster. I'm just going to not eat there. And if you want to eat there, that's great. More Cheddar Bay biscuits for you. Okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
I mean,
it's more fun.
I hate having low cholesterol, Gabe. And I'm not going to go and put a lot of videos out there, you know, telling people that they need to eat the McRib, they need to sack up. But this is a beautiful one, Gabe. I didn't know this.
Did you say this?
I just saw it just now.
It better be true. Don't play with me
true.
like that, Son of Liberty Radio. My wife was trying to read his name on a live draw stream, and it was Son of Flipperty. She thought Flibberty was a word. I was like, sound it out, baby. You're smart. You're smart, baby. Come on.
Yeah, man. That's Shadowhawk backs to the chat. It's good to see you, my friend. Yeah, and it's I look at this. Oh, Stephen Rockwood. Yeah, it's true. Stephen Rockwood drawing is saying it's true, and I believe Stephen Rockwood.
Es verdad.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that would be fantastic. I mean, the thing about it is that and people kind of forget the whole what I don't know. It's weird because when we're drawing this stuff, and it was so funny. I'm going to confess about something the other day. So people were asking me who my favorite colorists were in Comicsgate on a stream a while ago, and I didn't mention you, which I thought was hilarious. But here's the funny reason.
I'm my mom's favorite and my wife's favorite. That's enough.
But this is the funny part, right? When I thought about it after the stream, the reason it didn't dawn on me is because I've been watching you draw so much. Oh. This may be mind-bending to you. I think of you as like the same thing I'm doing, writing, drawing, and painting.
I am.
And it was so strange because I've been watching your line work so much lately on the big sheets of bristle you're working on. And it was the first thing when I think of your work that pops into my head.
Crawling on for a month.
Oh, come on, man. Get that. Whoa. You got to make that full screen. I know it's a Lethal Weapon stream, but come on, man.
Okay.
Come on. This is Comicsgate. Let's do this.
I've been using my brush. So, yeah, there's some Jim Lee rendering and some bleeding faces. And yeah, this has been about a month working on this page here.
Beautiful. But, my God, look at that face. I only
work on it. I work on it in my spare time because, I'm coloring 2 books. And
yeah, man.
Hold on. Let me put it over there. I'm coloring 2 books. And I'll be done with one by Tuesday. And then I'll just have Wraith of God that I'm coloring on the side. And then I'll go full-time on my stuff. But I'm also writing a new book. I do have news I have to just announce, like rip the bandage off. That book with Philippe, the Disney animator, Oath, Blood and Bone, that's not happening. Not anytime soon. We talked 2-3 days after Christmas. I'm not going to go into detail on anything. But he cannot do that right now. So, and I'm just going to leave that there. And if you see Philippe online, anyone, don't bother him. Don't ask him why. It's all private stuff. But that is not happening. But there was another book I was doing that I wanted to do after the one with Philippe. Yeah. And I just started putting full-time work into that. And I'm still going to launch it on President's Day. I believe so. But I'm not going to announce anything until I have some art. I should have some art for that in about 2 weeks. So I'm writing that. I'm writing and drawing that one over there that you saw, but that one over there that I'm drawing, I'm not going to launch that until the spring because I want to not be coloring other people's books. I want to be focusing on that. So, someone just texted me. Oh, it's my mom texting me. So that book I was doing with Philippe, that is on the back burner for now. Sorry. I know
I was already too zeroed in on B-Floss, so we're good, man.
Okay.
But I'll tell you this, though. We're looking at this shot right here, and so this is a question for all the people in the chat that I've been wondering about since I've seen this movie, all right? This is that famous scene where he pulls Mel Gibson, and he's pissed. He's calling his bluff. He says, are you really, what does he say? Are you really forget what it was, like psych case or something? I forget what it was.
Right.
They had some slang term or something he was using for him. And he pulls him in there, and he's like, if you're going to do it, go ahead and do it. And he gives him his gun. He puts it under his chin, and he goes to pull the trigger. And Danny Glover stops him, puts his finger in, I think, between the hammer, if I'm not mistaken, and stops the gun from going off. And he goes, oh, my God, you really are a psycho. Now, this is what I've wondered, and no one will ever be able to tell me one way or another because I think it's left to your thinking. Was he really going to do it? Or did he recognize in that moment the person who would not let him do it?
That's what I would like to believe. It's so intense to think that he would do that at a car dealership or wherever they were.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you this. Here's the other thing you got to ask. It's like, if he really wanted to do it and the guy stopped him, his reaction was very casual. He basically was kind of calling that guy's bluff, saying, I will let myself go, but I feel like he was saying, I will bet, not even I bet, he probably won't. But I think that it was interesting because what Mel saw in that was probably more painful than if the guy hadn't stopped it, which is, well, clearly Mel Gibson still wants him to live. Like, he says 2 things I always think about that I know is probably a very guy thing, and it is what it is. And I think it's why it was such a big deal for both you and I in different fields in so many ways to walk away from our careers, which is the job is, and how do we word it? Not walk away from our careers, walk away from our jobs to move towards our career and our profession, if that makes sense.
Right.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, so, because we haven't left anywhere, we've just taken more thing because your career is big. And the reason we left had a lot to do with the way that our character related to those jobs, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like it was, we have a career, we have a view of how things work, and our sense of purpose in our job is very important, but we do have to believe there's a purpose. Right. And Mel Gibson, his character of Riggs, believes there's a purpose in law enforcement. And I know you're, obviously, Mike Barron and the work that he's doing right now with his book, one of your friends and I'm sure a mentor as well, probably on a lot of levels, is writing a book about that. But the job is everything. He goes, the reason I don't do it is because she wouldn't want me to, which speaks to his connection that she is somewhere, right? And then the fact that, it's the job. Like getting up every day and doing the job is what it's about. Emerald Wackus had a really great quote in there. Yeah, I like the ambiguity more than one or the other. Exactly. I like the ambiguity too. You're right on that as far as that sequence you've got up on screen. Great screen grab there. Great capture. Love that.
Yeah, that's my daughter. Seriously. My daughter did that. She's my assistant for YouTube. She did the thumbnail.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and you see the little Van Damme in the corner?
Yes, yeah.
I found out how to do motion graphics in Keynote on the Mac. You could do it in PowerPoint on the Microsoft stuff. It takes 2 seconds to animate a transparent GIF.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I have, look, I'll show you another one. I know this is a little boring for people, but I'll show another one here real quick. And I made a button just as a test of a concept so I could have that come in and then tag off. You know what I mean? So people could subscribe. Yeah. So I was messing around with Keynote over the holidays and stuff. But let me check on the chat real quick here. Oh, private chat. Let me check on the chat real quick. Oh, this guy's got I think Riggs was going to do it. Murkoff had to stop the revolver's hammer in the nick of time.
Yeah.
I see, here's how I feel about it. I think he was, and I don't want to think that. So I lie to myself that I don't think he was. That's what's going on in my head. Like, nah.
I think I try to imagine that with him being the sniper that he was and him being the military guy and sizing up people, I think that he was, but I think he knew Danny Glover wouldn't let him. I think he was calling Danny Glover's bluff on level. So I think like he was cool either way, but he needed Danny Glover to know that he wasn't just whistling Dixie. And I got to tell you, this is an absolutely love Hacksaw Ridge. I love Apocalypto. I think it's one of the all-time unbelievable Mel Gibson films. God, that movie is...
I've seen Apocalypto, I think, 3 times. And I've loved it every time. What a fantastic movie. What a fantastic movie. And forget the movie for a minute, but just the graphic design in that movie. Do you know what the Gnomon School is in Los Angeles?
Yes, I do. Yep.
For those of you in the audience that don't know, Gnomon is GNMON or something like that. I don't know. GNOMON. They're one of the best schools in the world, allegedly, for concept art, video game art, movie art, like science, like computer graphics and all that, and just design and illustration and all that. And I worked at a comic book company called Impact Theory. I did some freelance for them. And this really, Quest nutrition bars, the guy from that has like $500 million. He's got a mansion at the top of Mulholland Drive in Hollywood.
Whoa.
And he does his own comics with Steve Aoki, the DJ. I know this all sounds crazy and made up, but I did some for them about 2-3 years ago. And their art director there, Abraham Lee, he went to Gnomon and all that. And he would go over the color story and the color theory and all the symbology for a few movies to teach us color theory and how it works with stories. And one of the movies we went over was Apocalypto. And we went over all kinds of symbology of the names and Zero Wolf and all that, the characters from Apocalypto. And he explained all of this stuff and how everything in that is deliberate. And we also did, what's the Pixar movie with the girl with too many emotions, Inside Out, I think it is, or something like that. Yeah. We went over that. We went over but Apocalypto, oh my gosh, you guys, if you haven't seen it, it's very intense and brutal. Please watch it. One of Mel Gibson's absolute best films.
It feels amazing. It feels like you've gone back in time, when you're in that movie. And I'll tell you this is that one of my former students was one of the lead concept designers. I think it was on Guitar Hero 2 and a bunch of those. He worked for Tony Hawk's studio. And if any of you guys have the Gnomon character design, he did a Gnomon series of DVDs on character design. But I always say I'm everywhere and nowhere. I'm hiding in plain sight. But if you watch that, he talks about my character design theories in it. And he's like going, yeah, I learned a lot of this stuff from Shanth and Jetty. And I was laughing my head off. So, yeah, the Cameron Scott Davis Noman workshop DVD, I get a nice little mention in there, which he's one of my students, and he's a terrific guy. He wrote the intro to Art Book 2, so it's kind of crazy.
Very cool. Very cool. I was checking. I'm checking something. Sorry, because people said there were bots in the chat. I don't know about that.
Maybe the mods grabbed them.
Yeah, no. It's here. I'm sorry. Sorry if there was anything weird or bad in the chat. Had nothing to do with me. So.
They were just probably posting links, and I gotta say, just looking at the chat here, we've got Fizz Chozo saying, good thing you're around. Channels are being attacked by porn bots. Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I want to apologize to everybody for attacking all of your chats with porn bots. And then let's see what else we've got here. Apocalypto is his best. Mel rules. Best films of the last 15 years. And I also got to say, Son of Liberty Radio, I love your name, and I absolutely love your logo too. I can't watch it again, but The Passion of the Christ superbly. Yeah, I own that on Blu-ray. It's brilliant. It's like a Caravaggio come to life.
I never went and watched that because I am very leery of anything religious. I'd never myself want to blaspheme or make anything blasphemous art.
Yeah,
and I was very concerned. I don't like to watch religious stuff because I'm really worried about that. But I never heard anything bad about it, and it has been like 17 years. So I suppose it's safe to watch.
Yeah.
I just
listen, man, people
artistic license or anything, or being like the Last Temptation of Christ or something that's like that.
Yeah. Well, Mel did it, and it's and there was to me, if I was to describe it a certain way, it's a lot like Caravaggio type, religious paintings come to life is the best way I could think of it. More of like a visually, artistic. But it's the thing about it too. It's funny. I'm looking at this scene right here, and you and I have talked about, we're both fathers, and we talk about action movies, and we talk about John McClane was a father. Obviously, Riggs was not a father in Lethal Weapon. He lost his wife, and in a lot of ways, that whole thing was kind of, he doesn't become a father till the end of Lethal Weapon 4, which is a really funny thing to think about.
Right.
Because the delivery room getting married. But this right here is one of my favorite shots in that movie, which was where he's trying to get his daughter back from these guys. You want to look into a great actor's face right there. Look at Danny Glover going, "Give me my daughter back."
Do you see it though? I see, he's such a masterful actor. What I see in those eyes is I see despair, but I see rage, and I see restraint. Because what he wants to do is rip these guys' heads off their skull.
You're right.
Rip the spine because they have his daughter. But he knows that he can't because they'll just get himself and his daughter killed. But look at his eyes. As a father, I know what that look is. He wants to kill them all, but it'll ruin things. So it's rage and restraint in the same emotion. It's amazing actor. And we all know he's an amazing actor. So
yeah, I mean, it's like, you've got baby girl. That's what that face says, and it's really funny how you see these guys, right, in this movie. You see guys getting punched in the face, having alcohol poured on their face, tied to a chair, and then they so much as move towards their kid.
Right.
Who's tied up. And it's like, no, I'll give you whatever you want. And that's the kind of thing I tell people. It's kind of like, why we expect men to sacrifice and give everything. Look at this, guys. I mean, this is his surrogate family at this point. She's been kidnapped, and Riggs is like, I'm all in. He's being burned with steam and hanging there, and it's like, because he finally sees it's the thawing of Riggs in a lot of ways, like he's de-icing during this movie, and he's like going, maybe there's like, I gotta fight. He's fighting for the American family, man. I hate to make it seem that intense, but it's so true. It's like you've got the movie starts with the daughter on drugs jumping off of the skyscraper, and it's like the total disintegration, right, of drug culture, the breakdown of the American family, and nobody knows where anybody is. And then you've got this beautiful, pristine guy who is in law enforcement. He's standing up for the social order and for his community. He's got his people he works with. He's got the chief, trusts him, and he's 50 years old and his kids, he's got grown kids, and we can kind of start to relate to that more and more, right? It's like the grown kids, right?
Right.
It's like when you're seeing it at the perfect time, right?
Yeah, my son's gonna be. Oh, I better get this right. He's gonna be 23 in a few weeks, and my daughter's gonna be 25 this spring. So
I haven't asked you this. Go ahead. Sorry, read this one, and then I got to ask you.
Oh no, you can go ahead. I'll get to this.
I was gonna say this. How was it? I never thought about that. What it would have been like if I saw this movie for the first time when I had adult kids and I was seeing kids at the same developmental stage of you're still a dad, you're worried about your kids, to really be able to think, because I was probably the younger than his daughter when she got kidnapped in that movie,
right?
When I saw it. But what's it like to watch a movie like that and see another dad whose daughter's getting kidnapped as a young adult, and that intensity of that? I mean, that's something I never even thought of.
Well, it's it angers you, right? But it's catharsis to see him save her and save the day. You know what I mean? You're like, good, man. Fuck those bad guys. Like,
I love that.
And like I said before, if someone were to hurt anyone's children, you want to pull their head off. You know what I mean? With the spine attached. And
think about that, right?
That's why this right here is an Oscar-winning facial expression. You can see it. He's fantasizing about pulling heads off, but he knows he can't do it in the moment. So let me read this comment really quick.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh, that's the Batman song. That's right. Na. Mel has a great career, but no one talks about how his directorial debut, The Man Without a Face, that movie was fucked, and it really had depth to the mains on several sensitive subjects. I've never seen that. Have you seen it?
No, and the reason I haven't seen, or not the reason I haven't seen it, but one of the things is I've seen parts of that movie because that movie was in movie theaters when I used to work in a movie theater. So I was an usher cleaning up and, one of those people checking to make sure the doors were shut and all that stuff back when I was working movie theaters and then cleaning up afterwards. So I've seen parts of that movie, but I'll have to check it out, and it's an interesting thing because, I was looking at this picture and going, yeah, guys, don't ever make Gabe and I make this face. You want to be on the other side of that face, y'all.
Face on me, and remember, guys,
don't do it. Exactly.
I'm 6'4", 290 pounds. If you see this face on me, it will be one of the last things you see.
Yeah, we got a 45 and a shovel, and we doubt anybody would miss you.
And I know, YouTube, that wasn't serious. It's a joke.
Exactly.
It's a joke.
YouTube. Yeah, probably in more trouble from everything else, but it's like we've located the porn bot. But this is beautiful.
Yeah, someone got the porn bot and killed him. I never saw it. I don't know what it was doing.
Yeah, it's just links. It's just
post links. Well, shit. I wonder where those things come from. Who cares?
Yeah.
Let me see. Where were we though?
Oh, we were just talking about oh my gosh. Oh, we were just talking about like the rescue. Oh, and the fact that you've got a character in Mel Gibson who doesn't see value in his own life, but sees value in the family unit. Like he's going to help this guy. They're going to war together to protect his family. I think that's one of those are the things that guys need to see in entertainment when they're young. Like that really affected me. I didn't even have kids at the point I saw this movie, and I was like, oh yeah, man, if I had to help a friend who was in this situation, we'd go, man. We'd just go. We'd take care of it,
Yeah.
I love that. Sure.
So is bringing up a good point here. As a father, you're saying, how do I relate as a father? And I wonder how you relate. As a father, I get this. Sure thing, pal. If she dies, she's going to die with me my way, not yours. I get that. If you were given two choices, if you were given just two choices in this fake scenario where they kill her or you take them all out, you'd choose the second if you were forced. So I get that.
Man.
I think having children is one of the most important things that's missing in modern society. That and I'm not criticizing anyone in particular, anyone in the chat that doesn't have kids yet, but the longer you live as an adult without children, the more you're cheating yourself. Children, I lift weights, as I talk about all the time, and I can't build my legs by working my arms, right? That's why everyone jokes about leg day. For those of you that don't lift weights, leg day is miserable. I don't know why. It's because the muscle groups are bigger or something. But, arm and chest and biceps, all the girlfriend muscles, that's a lot more fun to work out, But I'm not going to get big legs if I just work out my biceps. And when you go through different difficulties in life and different challenges and different discomforts and disciplines, you get certain emotional muscles, but you can't get the bicep from the leg. So having kids gives you a certain type of selflessness, a certain type of mercy and love and compassion. You can't get it anywhere else. And I'm speaking from experience. You can't simulate what having children does for you. So I highly recommend it for everyone out there. It's really God's greatest gift to us as people is to care for these people unconditionally. You'll never love anyone the way you will love your children, So
kids hit us differently too, in terms of our emotional response in movies. And it's like I just think that there's this aspect of these action films where it's guys are funny that way. Like we need to have, I think a lot of us anyway, need to have a reason for why we're doing things. Like we need to have a cause. We need to have a sense of purpose. And kids are a really powerful way. Wives or girlfriends or, whoever, as you meet people, your people who are you really close to, your friends. And, but like where there's, serious relationships. And it's kind of an interesting thing because, even in these movies, like the people who are the villains are the people who don't have relationships with people, who are sociopaths. They're disconnected from everything. And you could see instantly where what I thought was interesting is when they're talking, when they're talking to that kid to try to get an ID on the person they saw who blew up the house.
Right.
Mel Gibson switches into a different gear to talk to the kid.
Right.
He's like, and there's that great quote. I love when people hit the movie quotes. And I just got the Son of Liberty radio from a little while back, the "When I was 19" quote from the movie. I don't know if you can see it up there in the chat there.
I'll go looking for it.
It's at 11:41. Yeah. When I was 9, I forget, it was his half American, half Australian, was like, yeah, when I was 19, I did a guy in Laos with a rifle shot 1,000 yards in high wind. Maybe 8. He was like, maybe 8 or 10 guys in the world could have made that shot. It's the only thing I was ever good at. That's the dude who's like, we're going to go get your girl. I want to see more movies where two guys look at each other and are like, whose car we taking? It's like, let's go take care of business.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're building here in Kafkaesque, and I've gotten closer to some guys more than others. And not that I have anything against any Kafkaesque guys, but, in any group of 10, 20, 30, 40 people, you'll gravitate towards certain ones. You know what I mean? You'll just click with certain people better. And I'm building a little bit of ride or die with you here. I really enjoy it. So
yeah, man. Well, obviously, I think you and Ethan need to squash that beef. It's you guys got to bring it all back to Incellivision. That's the key, man. but that's kind of the cool thing about it. It's not, thank God, it's not a cult. And the thing I love about Brotherhood that makes me laugh so much is that until you get to, I think, practically almost to the 4th movie, it's like, it's very much, if I didn't love my partner, I would kill him myself. He's just
right.
Oh man.
Yeah, nobody calls my brother a fucking asshole except for me.
Exactly.
What did you call my brother? That thing I call him 10 times a day. How dare you?
Yeah. Well, what's sort of funny is it's like, we've talked about this before, right? But it's like, and I think it was maybe Peterson was talking about this again, to bring Jordan Peterson up. I'll tell you what, one of the trippiest everything coming together was when I found out that this dude I was watching to get out my Star Wars rage and my comics, kind of like inspiration, did the illustrations for Jordan Peterson's book. That blew my mind. But he talked about how that when women fight and have a fight, a really bad argument, it tends to linger and stay and damage the relationship. Like it tends to be something that doesn't get forgotten. And I do think that guys have stuff sometimes that they can't let go, obviously, certain kinds of betrayal or whatever else that are deemed of a certain level. But for the most part, we can patch things up and we're able to sustain things. And these two guys are like an exercise in something that we need to see more of, which is the male relationship. Look, man, I don't like that you don't care about your life. I care about mine, but I'm tied to you. We're handcuffed, in this job, and you can smoke and you can do this and you could do that and you could do everything. But at the end of the day, we have to both be on our own team when we're executing the law.
Right. Yeah, I think law. Yeah, I think that there is a and I don't know because I'm not a woman and I never will be, but I do think there is a real difference between fraternity. I think that's a unique type of friendship. The friendship that men have it's something that's unique in the world, and it's not the same. Just as an outside view of what I see with my wife and her sisters and her girlfriends and all that, I don't see the same thing I see with me and my boys and my brother and just my buddies. I'm still best friends with my best friend from 4th grade. You know, I mean, we lived 5 doors down from each other growing up, and he's still my best friend. You know, I've known him since we were 9 years old. He's literally a day older than me. His birthday is the day before mine. So, and I do think that fraternity is one of the most precious and important things that men have, you know, where you will relate to the other guy and he can be himself. And you're right. There is that you will get in a fist fight or, you know, totally get into a huge argument with each other, and you'll come to an understanding and you'll still just be buddies and you won't hold that grudge or anything like that. That's been typical in my experience, you know.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, right? Because, you know, one of the things it's a tough thing, but, you know, and we both are, you know, have raised and I'm still raising, you know, sons, but it's like one of those things that you really have to teach boys, which is, you know, in a lot of ways, like, you know, what things mean in when guys are interacting, you know, like when a guy puts you down and you have a thing, you kind of got to go back. You got to kind of, you know, hat in hand, or you got to like say, hey man, that was my bad. But, you know, you can't just take it crippling with you. And it's funny because I think a lot of the people who have the hardest time dropping grudges are the people who have had the least amount of being humbled in situations. And it's kind of interesting because in a lot of ways, there's that I would say this is that Danny Glover is a very humble man in these movies. Like he comes into it, Murtaugh is humble. Like he's, you know, serves law enforcement. He's humble to his family. See his kids ribbing on him. You know, he's like, they all love him. They respect him, but they're ribbing on him. They can joke with him. And in a lot of ways, if you think about it in his movies, is he sets it up in the script, you know, and you're right. Yeah, both are important. I absolutely agree with that. That's a great one right there.
Yeah. No. Says men provide the blueprints for women to print, and that we must do everything to protect what is ours. Women will never understand that, like men will never understand growing a child for 9 months. And both are important. Absolutely. I am very traditional in my beliefs about men and women, that we're absolutely equal and we're absolutely mirror images of each other. We are not the same. It is the yin and the yang, you know, where we completely complement each other. What I am terrible at, my wife is great at. What she's terrible at, I'm good at it. You know, it's a small thing in my life, but one of the honors of my life, being a father, being a leader and all that, trying to be that little rudder of stoicism for my wife and kids. We had a dog my daughter got in 2nd grade named Speedy. He was an American Kennel Club Basset Hound, and we got him for free. He was a beautiful dog with black hair and some orange spots. And Basset Hounds are the best. We're on our 3rd Basset now, Gene. And Speedy got cancer at Christmas like 6 years ago and started throwing up blood and got really sick. And I knew we had to put him down. So we talked about it as a family. My kids are little here. They were like late middle school or high school or something like that. And I was we're going to take him to the vet and he's going to get the shot and this and that. So I let my daughter play with him and my son play with him and do some stuff with him. And then I said, okay, you guys, go relax, go here. We live by the ocean. So they went to the beach and I went to the vet by myself because they didn't want to go. And I held the dog and petted the dog and was there with the dog when the veterinarian put it down and died. And of course it's hard for me, men, women, all of us, we love dogs. Dogs are like made for human beings. But I knew for them, for 2 children and my wife, they'd be sobbing. And nothing against them. That's normal and expected and good that they're sensitive that way. But I knew as a father, I could bite my lip and just get through it. And for me, it's an honor to like turn my back and take the arrows for them. So I do very much traditionally believe that there's a reason that we have these things in us as fathers and mothers and, sons and daughters. and that, modern culture tries to distort it and say that none of it exists. And absolutely not. It's a privilege to me to take poor Speedy to get put down so my wife doesn't have to, and to bring it back, it's like you're looking at Murtaugh and what a great father he is, and his ability when we kept showing that face of rage and restraint, stoic. He's able to control his emotion, even though he might feel like ripping a head off. He won't do it because it's not the right thing to do at the moment. And even though, Riggs is insane, he's going to be compassionate with him instead of yelling at him and saying, man, I'm really tired of your craziness. And that's the great thing about this Murtaugh character is he's such a man. And a man is someone who controls his emotion. And to me, stoicism, emotional regulation, it's a discussion I have with my brother, who's a therapist, a psychologist. It's okay to feel any feeling. It's fine. Just don't do it if it's wrong. And a simple example is dieting. It's okay to look at that chocolate cake and want to eat the whole thing. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
So Murtaugh, he's a great example of that, of a real stoic, a good man.
Yeah, I mean, and it's beautifully put, beautifully said. I mean, I'm some of the stuff in the chat now. I don't know where you guys are going to come. First of all, I totally, I'm watching Charles Lee the thing about the different branches of service, which I think is beautifully put. And I got to say this though too, in terms of this, one of my favorite things I heard Jerry Seinfeld say that I thought was brilliant, and he goes, "There's two interesting ways where that men and women are different." And he goes, one of them is that when it comes to feeling kind of sadness or emotion, women can do that. Like if you go up to a woman and you say, or if you go up to a man, it's the same thing with eating. He goes, if you go up to a man and say, "Are you hungry?" 9 times out of 10, a man goes, "I could eat." He goes, if you go up to a woman and go, "Honey, are you feeling sad?" She thinks, "I could be." And I just died. I was like, that's terrifying.
He's brilliant. My goodness.
He is brilliant, but I definitely go into the so I started saying that to my wife, driving her crazy. Every time she asks me, she's like, "So you feel like you want to have dinner now?" And I'd be like, "I could eat." She's like, "Stop."
Right.
Yeah.
I saw Seinfeld live. I took my wife to see him about 15, 17 years ago in Denver when we used to live in Colorado. And then I saw him with my brother. My brother's like 42nd birthday in Vegas, like 2-3 years ago. Oh my God. If you get the chance to see Jerry, I know this is stupid advice. We all know he's hilarious. See him in concert if you get to see him. Well, he had this whole thing about weddings, and I won't try to tell his joke because I'll butcher it. But I just remember the one line where he was making fun of how women loved weddings and men hate them. He says, it's a waste of a perfectly good Saturday. That's what weddings are.
Man, it's for men. Random. Oh, sorry. We should read this one too. Yeah, human instincts. Yeah.
Go ahead. Read it.
Oh, yeah. Humans have instincts like animals. Unfortunately, wokists won't admit it and think that humans are infinitely malleable. And I think that's true, is that this is something that came out of psychology a long time ago. And two things that we've touched on without even knowing it, because Lethal Weapon, like all great action movies, is life, is we should talk about, when you were talking about your story with the dog, Riggs' relationship with his dog, which keeps him somewhat anchored. And then you've got, especially in Lethal Weapon 2, how you're kind of, rooting for it. And then we've got the wonderful actress. She passed away not long ago, I think it was, who was a Donna Regular, who was the mom in Goonies. And she was also the therapist in Lethal Weapon, who he calls Sigmund Freud whenever he meets her. And I always thought that there's something really funny, because in a lot of ways I like her because she gets Riggs. Like I love how she's like, when you're done playing, I'll be here. They have that great moment in the last movie where he finally comes to her asking for real help, and she's assuming it's a joke, and she ignores him.
She thinks he's putting her on.
Yeah, and it's too funny, man, because I always say this, guys, is that here's my other case for kids, and also for really, I don't want to say deep diving. Don't dissect the movies you love, but go back and watch the movies that impact you when you're younger, because they will tell you things that you were looking for or needing to see hashed out and worked out when you were younger. You know what I mean? But it's I always say that the funny thing about having kids is they can be a really funny, brutal mirror. And the weirdest thing about it is when you have fraternal twins, which we had, you realize how much nature is in there, because we have fraternal boy-girl twins, and it is like a watching nature, like in terms of temperament. And I don't mean even just in terms of like boy versus girl. I mean just extrovert versus introvert. Like I could give a list of certain qualities and you wouldn't be able to tell me which kid I was talking about. And then with other things, you might say, well, that's a cliche thing. So it's interesting to me that you meet people with different kinds of temperament. And what I think this movie is about, shocker, it works, and it connects with us. Is it's about two people with different temperament and different personalities making it work.
Yeah. I think this is a good comment for what you're talking about. Random white guy says, wokists are scientism enthusiasts, yet they deny evolution. Yeah, they do deny the science they claim to love. And it's so strange that we've arrived in this Kafkaesque world where we're denying things that are fairly self-evident. You know, and you know what I mean? It's very strange. And I will maintain that a overwhelming majority of people are very sensible and level-headed and don't go for this woke stuff.
Yeah.
But the woke people are so narcissistic and out of control, they just cause chaos and make a scene. Everyone else puts their head down and goes, oh my God, are they going to stop screaming? And no one for the most part wants to stand up, because it would be like someone covered in shit. You don't want to get near them because it's going to get all over you. And you're like, I don't want this problem. Can't they just stop? You know?
Yeah. I mean, and it's think of and that's the thing for me is that as a guy, one of the things that I think has been, really, weird to watch from the outside is the kind of the death of femininity, because from my experience, femininity is one of those powerful forces in the world. Like I mean, I remember the first time I saw a girl I had a crush on. God, I must have been barely conscious. And I was like, that's where it's at. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like,
I could tell you. I think I told you on this show a few weeks ago where I was.
Oh, where were you?
I was at my grandparents' house, and Carrie Fisher was on TV for some reason as Princess Leia in that white dress. And I was either 6 or 7. And I was like, oh, I like women. Like it happened it happened in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like, it's, how do I word it? It's like, I look at this sort of stuff and I think that, Riggs it's a really interesting thing because, Riggs is a character. He goes through, Lethal Weapon 2, the thing about that. Yeah. See, there you go. There's the picture right there.
Right.
A man and his dog and his beer.
Beautiful.
And that's the kind of thing, right? It's if there's one thing that Comicsgate didn't, made me realize I didn't have and that I was missing, was hanging out and having, and that's why we're here, guys. That's what Double Impact is about. It's hanging out and having those guy conversations where we talk about these action movies and we remind ourselves of things like fellowship and fraternity, and like it's one of those things to where it's like and at least this is how it's been in my situations. I don't have to know why my best friend, like what his thing is, like what he loves about his wife or whatever. But when she's in the hospital, she had to have one of my buddies, my best friend's wife had to have emergency heart surgery. She's in her 60s, and this was a couple of years ago. And I'm driving home from work, I'm on my way home, and he's like, I've got to figure out a way to get out because he's got a vision impairment. He can't drive, to go out and get some, thing to help her at the house. And I'm like, well, go online, tell me if it's at a CVS near me, and I'm going to go pick it up for you, man. It's your wife. Right. It's your buddy's wife. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing with that I think most of the guys I've been around, most of the people I've been around, it's like we get invested in, like, if someone's like, my wife's not doing well or she's in the hospital, it's like it's an immediate sort of reaction that I feel like, that we have as guys when we're in a good group. We can all identify with that, and it's kind of, it's I don't know, it's one of those things that I loved that aspect of this movie where it's kind of like, because Danny Glover's working in Danny Glover. How can you not say Danny Glover? I love this guy. Because Murtaugh is working in this, in this particular field, and he ends up in a situation that brings in some special forces people. It brings in all kinds of intense elements into his job. When his family's on the line, this person who he's kind of like, you don't make sense inside of this particular social order. He needs that person, and that person who he basically grows his family to include elements in it that might be that crazy Uncle Riggs, right? But crazy Uncle Riggs will do when you're in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you're in the shit, you have to know you got that buddy.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's struggling. You know, your uncle is struggling right now, but he's family. And we're going to have him in for Christmas because that time you got kidnapped by those drug lords. You know, he was there for us, man. And I love that.
Yeah, it was unclear to me. I didn't realize it till about halfway through the second movie that he lives with them. He starts like living in a spare bedroom or something, right? Or he's always there. Because I'm like, does he live here? Because he shows up with his laundry or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, he's got a trailer on the beach, right? Right. And then he comes over like a kid from college, you know, doing laundry, and then they sit out on that boat, you know, and have beers. Yeah. It's like Riggs becomes this Riggs is kind of funny because Riggs, you know, Danny Glover is the lovable dad. He's the butt of the jokes, but by meeting Riggs, what's interesting is his daughter and his family see dad's kicked ass in the past. Yeah. You know, this is what I do for a living, man. I go out and I protect and serve, and I'm going to go and kick ass. And so he kind of, those movies are about, if you look at the Murtaughs, they're about a continual assault on the social order. You've got, you know, a white and black partner, and you've got apartheid in the second one. And then he's trying to build an addition on his house. They're always trying to blow up and hurt Danny Glover's house. Right. Like every single movie.
The toilet scene from the second one.
Greatest.
They rig the toilet to blow up the house if Danny Glover gets off the toilet. And that did have the greatest tagline in the trailer. Yeah. What was it, Shanth?
Oh, yeah. It's like Lethal Weapon 2 this time. They're not taking any crap. It just was really
And then
good.
you see the toilet fly out and
toilet
land
hit
on
the squad car.
The house does get blown up a little bit. I like this from Son of Liberty radio. Murtaugh, it's not a woman's girdle, it's a man's girdle. Rick says they make girdles for men. That's hilarious when he keeps wearing that girdle to hold his gut in because he's too fat, or what's going on with him there. That is funny how they make fun of him about that.
Midlife crisis, man. And it wasn't you know what the funny thing is, and I was going to say I don't want to read too much into this, but this, you know, these descend into a sober guy's drunk or high conversation, which is the great thing because we both don't drink. But the thing that's sort of funny about it is that when I look at it to go, if you think about that as the emotional center, which it so often is represented as, that part of the body, the stomach, right? He starts to let those aspects out as the movies go on because Riggs is all that. Like Riggs is just all emotion. He's all like that part of the brain. He's going out and he's kicking ass. You know, all those great scenes. I think it's in Lethal Weapon 2. I'm pretty sure, but it could be in the first. Which one is it? I think it's 2, where he's running down the street with a machine gun. I don't know if he's barefoot or first one. Yeah, and he's just like
he's running down. It's Hollywood Boulevard or Sunset. It's one of those main streets with a fucking like AK just running down the street. Yeah. But Charles Lee's been making great comments in there. I think Riggs is the only one that got Riggs, unless you've been Riggs. But you know, that's just my humble opinion about that song. That's interesting to know. I wonder, and I have no way of knowing how I would feel about the Riggs character if I had been a veteran or anything like that. You know, I wonder,
true.
You know, because that's like Luke asked Yoda on Empire, the dark cave with the nightmare with his father. He's like, "What's in there?" Yoda says, "Only what you take with you." And I think that about life so much, that things are what you make of them, you know, and we have to be careful not to let our confirmation bias ruin things for us, where we're expecting garbage and then we see it because we're expecting it. You know what I mean? So, I love this comment here too. All this on the farm, just off Orwell Lane. Great name. Mm-hmm. Murtaugh is married, strong family man. Riggs is the broken man who had that stolen from him. The family man is dead in modern cinema. Instead of the complementary pair, it's always 2 times Riggs now. Agreed. Yeah. And to me, that's just, that doesn't, it's like a hamburger with no bun and just more meat instead of buns or something like, or just no meat. It's all buns. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. You need those opposing flavors, those opposing things to get the harmony, like a chord on a piano. You need all three keys or whatever,
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. It's too postmodern, too negative now, very cynical and crass. I think a lot of the cinema. I think that's the main reason the charm has gone from so much fiction now.
Well, the great thing is that it's a part of us, as a species. And it's funny, like I was thinking about this too, Charles Lee, and this is the thing I love about Comicsgate, right? Is it's like I love the fact that I'm in this group of people right now who see each other as individuals, and I like to think anyway, take for granted. I know I take for granted that I don't know everything about the people who are backing my book, the people who are in this chat's experience. And what is a miracle of art to me, and it always will be, is that people who've had experiences that I cannot fathom, and the experiences I've had that maybe other people can't fathom, which again, I think that art is the way that which we kind of start to, I don't want to say we know those things, but maybe it's the nexus where we connect and we can open up those conversations. Right. And I think that that's kind of like it's the thing that's never lost on me. And it's the thing I love about the movie theater. It's the thing I love about YouTube is we all show up here, right? We all show up here and we get together. And I will tell you this, I don't need people in the chat to agree with me to be freaking thrilled that you guys are here. It's just that you're here and we're sharing these things. And when you guys share your thoughts, it's freaking great.
Right.
I love it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you make it the day a better day, man.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. It's very beautifully put. We're born alone, we die alone, right? The old cliche. And while we're here on earth, we're trying to connect, whether it's with the spouse or parents or children or all of it, or brotherhood friends like me and Shanth have become. Some of the talks, Shanth, that I have after this show, you guys don't even know. We go deep, and really building a bond there, and it's so important. And it is a delight and a privilege to build it with you guys in the chat too. Let me just send out a heartfelt thank you to Blackguard for $25. No comment there, but my whole family really appreciates that. So, wow, how kind of you. I really, really appreciate that. So, and on a less serious, but I agree with this 1,000%. Yeah. Jet Li was wasted in Lethal Weapon 4. Agree. Yeah. He's barely in that movie. And my goodness, he's fantastic. And spoiler, the movie's from 1998. So, but the part underwater at the end where Riggs almost drowns terrified me. Because, like, how is he going to get out of there? And, of course he did.
His spiritual connection with his brother, right?
Right. That was the key. Again, it's the brother that saved him. Yeah. Oh, I like this here from Admiral Wackass. Shanth's railing against cynicism has me trying to catch myself when I'm being too jaded. It is not an easy habit to change. Agreed. And you're not alone. And I'm as guilty as any of you. I told you guys earlier in the show, if you were here at the beginning, that I just want to talk about what I love. I'm not going to play the video because it'll get this broadcast struck like for copyright. Yeah. But I watched Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth the other day because I saw a YouTube channel review that there's a channel, Jason Brandt, I think, and it's called It's So Bad It's Good. Go sub to that channel, watch it. All he does is 80s and 90s garbage, but he loves these movies, and he's not hating on them in a mean way. He's laughing, he's having fun with them, and he reviewed Stone Cold, which I never paid attention to or watched. I watched that movie the other day. Go check out my Twitter feed, guy, from like 4 or 5 days ago, and I posted like a 30-second clip from that movie where a guy tries to kill Brian Bosworth on a motorcycle by running him over, gets shot with a shotgun. The motorcycle flies out the building of the courthouse or the window.
Yeah, that's right. I did watch
that. And then it hits a helicopter, and then the helicopter lands on a car. And my comment on Twitter was, there is no perfect 80s, 90s action scene. And I don't even know why I started talking about that just now. But that's
man,
because the comment about being jaded. And I hate feminists. Man, I want to be done with that shit. And I just want to celebrate what I love. Celebrate doing Double Impact with Shanth and talking about Martin Riggs, talking about Brian Bosworth. Do you know what I watched last night out of pure curiosity that I love? Death Wish with Charles Bronson. I've never seen that. Oh
Bronson, man.
Well, let's talk about that next week if you want, and you can always bring.
Oh no, I will. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Death Wish. That is intense. That movie.
That movie's the real deal, man.
With that movie, and only 1974. You got to be kidding me with the level of violence in that thing.
That's a rough one. And Charles Lee's got one of my favorite.
Hello to you,
favorite
Vlad.
things.
Is there a comment you want me to bring up? I'll find it.
Yeah, it says I was always girl crazy at the start of it.
Is it there? No. Okay, I'll find it and bring it up. Or maybe here it is. Here it is. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was always girl crazy. I think I was that way from the womb, but couldn't prove that. But I started noticing girls around 5 or 6. I was the same way. Didn't think they were too icky or yucky, kind of cool though. Yeah, I used to say to guys when I was like 5 or 6, I remember this, I was in daycare or wherever I was, and they'd be like, girls are gross. And I said, you're so right. You guys go over there, I'll hold them off. Like I was like, and it's like, I remember crushes on girls. Like there's this girl, I met a girl once later in life when we were at some pre-college program that was like my first crush from kindergarten, and she had saved our art projects, and it was like I was like, holy cow, man! I was love the ladies, and I was always looking for that one.
Yeah, I was a lover boy from a young age. I can admit to this crime. When I was in kindergarten, we had this young teacher's aide, like 20, 21, must have been a college student, and she was so pretty, and I was 5, okay, and she bent down at our table to help me with something, and I could see down her shirt. So then I asked her a second question so I could take a second look. Oh, but I was only 5.
Yeah, you want a terrifying one.
I was 5.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got one worse for you. So when I was, you know how when you try to explain something, like, first of all, when a 12-year-old boy compliments his 20-something Spanish teacher, newlywed Spanish teacher, and he says, you look nice today. The dumbest thing she could do is to ask him, really? Why? Because it's like, or, oh, really? Why? Why do you think I look nice today? To which I foolishly responded, you look like a sexy secretary. So anyway, I remember when this is one of those moments that this is fellowship. This is guys. You're going to love this.
A hole opened in the ground and swallowed you, right?
I got sent to the dean's office, and the dean, poor man, Dean James, was taking a drink from his coffee when I told him what I said, and he just projectiled through his nose, mouth. He could not breathe, and he couldn't recover. The laughter he had, he couldn't move into discipline mode after that. He's like, you're just going to sit here for a little bit, and I'll tell her I gave you a stern talking to.
Oh, my gosh, that's hilarious.
God, it was awful. Oh.
You want to hear a stupid comment to a woman when you're a child? Christmas party. Before my parents got divorced, my mom and dad, our house, and family friends come over. I will not name this woman, poor lady. She's a family friend, went to high school with my mom, and she had like a haircut that I didn't like when I looked at it. It was like short and spiked out, like it was 1985 or something. And I had a nice Christmas sweater, and my parents had me comb my hair and dress up real nice because people were coming over. And this grown woman, like 30 years old, bends down to 7-year-old me. Not really bent down. I was already tall. Said, wow, you look sharp, Gabe. I can remember this moment clearly in my head. So you look sharp, Gabe. And I looked at her and said, you look ugly.
Lord.
So, I can't believe I said that. And I didn't mean it as a mean thing. You know how kids just say shit sometimes because they're thinking it. And I still cringe when I think about poor, will not name her to protect her.
To protect the guilty, right? As we always say.
She knows who I am, and she never held it against me because I was a little kid, But that's one I feel. You see the words come out of your mouth, and you try to grab them and put them back, and there's no such thing. So at least I didn't say you look like a sexy secretary, though.
Listen, every now and again, I got married, so I can say that. I tell my wife, now I can say it with impunity if I want to.
Your wife's gonna listen to this stream and go, "Is that why you buy me all those secretary things?"
Exactly right. And it's like,
you get her like a stapler on. You get her a stapler and a Rolodex on Valentine's.
Exactly. That's right.
Here.
Yeah.
Put these on your desk. She's like, "Why? Don't ask questions, woman."
And I gotta say this too, and I absolutely agree. For How to Draw Comics, Dan Lawless, much love, brother. It's comics was a lonely business when I was in it from '87 to '97. This is way more fun. I couldn't agree more with the just the idea of, I've done a couple things in comics, and granted, they were at different times. I was on either side of college, so Gabe can probably speak more to this, but it's hard to imagine anything being more fun than where Comicsgate is right now. And it's and I got to catch this one real quick just so Jay Lee knows we're serious here at Double Impact. For me, when I found out what girls were, it was seeing Carolyn Monroe in The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, and then later found out she was the lady as a reference for Talia in the Batman comics. And
I did not know
I
that.
remember the centaur, the blue Cyclops single eye centaur, and then that down shot of someone must have been in there with a spray bottle on that cleavage between takes. And I'm telling you, man. Yeah, I just want you to know that we do our research.
That'll do it.
Sorry.
Oh, I wonder if women talk about men this way. I doubt it.
No, we have to be. We have to be Henry Cavill, Jason Momoa. Like the bar we have to hit. There's like four of us at any time on the planet, and then for them, it's like, this, it's like we meet them when they're like, 17, 19, 20, and we're like, oh, look, there's a goddess on Earth. Like the way that it works, guys, it is the ultimate superpower in the world.
Being a beautiful young woman. Yeah.
Oh my God. And even this, right? It's like, I had this joke I was saying, like when my wife was talking to me one time, and I drove myself to the hospital when my appendix ruptured. So I have a wicked high pain tolerance. And she said to me, she's like, you're crazy. You have such a high pain tolerance. I said, yeah, I do. I said, but Lauren tears are my kryptonite. That's just the way it is, man. It's like when my wife, I would rather I have a medical procedure any day of the week than have my wife, be waiting in the damn waiting room. Do you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
And it's like, it's because I just think, and it's in my art, it's in Nosferatu. It's like women are just these angels on earth to me, man. It's like femininity is, and I should say, when a woman beautifully represents femininity, it is not some narrow thing. It's something that is, it hits you in the soul, man.
Oh yeah. And you're definitely right. And it's not some superficial, just lust-filled drooling. There's also when they're older and they're a mother, and then there's also when they're in their place of glory as a matriarch, like a grandmother of the family and stuff like that. Like the whole thing when let's go back to talking about me being the father and taking my dog to be euthanized, and these roles there. That's the thing I don't want to talk about what I hate. I want to talk about what I love. But it is one of the reasons that I love traditionalism is that it gives men and women such a beautiful place to excel and to achieve and to be these wonderful, respected people who have earned it. I'm trying to avoid criticizing feminism because I'm going to go out of my way to not talk about to avoid talking about what I hate. We have Amer Castoff says women most certainly talk about men like this.
While you're I got to say this.
Sorry,
women definitely talk about Gabe and I like this. We want to be really clear.
Oh yeah, we know that.
Women everywhere are talking about the two of us.
What I meant specifically, and I didn't ask, was do women say, oh, I noticed boys for the first time when I was 7 and I saw Magnum P.I. riffle his mustache and jump into the
Oh, that's a good question, man.
Yeah. I wonder.
Actually, I'm wondering, like, I don't think I've ever asked my wife that.
Yeah, I'll ask mine.
When did you first notice guys and be like, ooh, he's whatever? I mean, was it, I don't know how many people I've heard say when they were 5, that was when they noticed it.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
Admiral Wacko says it's also a crazy superpower because most, and he's saying women, lose it over time, and that's a huge mindfuck for chicks that overuse it. Yeah, it's got to be something to be this 21-year-old, 9 or 10, you're just gorgeous. Men are just falling down in front of you. And then you get older, and if you didn't develop a personality or, start a family or something, and you're trying to rely on your beauty of age 21, well, it ain't going to work anymore. And you say that's sexist. And I say, no, it isn't. Because if you only valued your body, then why would anyone else value anything else? And to me, it's akin to a professional athlete. You don't hear Champ Bailey, Hall of Fame cornerback in the NFL. You don't hear him saying, you know what? The NFL is bigoted against 45-year-old slow cornerbacks. It's like, well, we hired you for your physicality, buddy. And when it's gone, it's gone. You know, it doesn't devalue you as a human being. You devalued it by focusing on that only. So I don't know. That's how I look at that.
That's like everything, man, right? Like beauty has different phases, and it's trying to be things at different phases when it's not time. Like we sit around here and we look at, like, here's a perfect example too. You know, it's like you know, as I look at this picture right here, look at these guys, right? Murtaugh, like, first of all, Danny Glover is an actor. He's a star, I would argue to say. You know, he could green light a movie, you know, like he's Danny Glover. And but he's playing a guy that, and I'm pretty sure after this movie he was in Predator 2. So it was like, you know, it's not like he's this guy all day. But in this movie, he's playing this guy who knows his age, knows his role, and it doesn't make him any less of a man. He goes out and he does what he has to do. But it would be absurd to see him acting like Riggs. It would be absurd with both of them acting like Leo Getz and Joe Pesci in this movie, you know? It's ridiculous. There you go. Yep.
Yeah. And thank you to James Lee in the chat, Jay Lee. He sent this over. He was talking about it was The Voyage of Sinbad.
Caroline Monroe,
Monroe? Yeah, and I see how they made Talia based on that. I see it. Dang. Yeah, that'll help a 7-year-old me. That'll get my attention.
And you know what's sort of funny about all of these actresses, right, is when people talk about beauty and the power of beauty. One of my favorite actors, who famously was in the Hammer horror movies, she was very, chill with her. She was very confident, let's say, with her body. She wasn't afraid to appear nude. When you learn about her, and you love the first two Predators, preach. But when you learn about her bio, she escaped the Holocaust, right? She was a Holocaust survivor. She came to this country, and she was beloved by her fans such that she died of a heart attack at a ripe old age on her way to a dinner event with her fans.
Really?
I mean, it's like, so when we see these screen icons, you will still see these actors showing up at conventions, and men will be signing things going, I remember the first time I saw you in that movie. And they're not disposable. These are these iconic moments for these people. They are, you know, the screen icons. You see it even with actresses in, you know, the Evil Dead movies. You see it with all of these icons, where it's, if you have a good sense of self, you know, you understand how, like, you see the fun in it, the humor of your youth. You know who you are now. It's this amazing thing, guys. We're all in this, and like this life experience we have right here on this planet is just this, like, in this, you know, expansive sort of cosmos. It's like this little flash, like, where you'll see actors in their prime during this age that you look up to, and they'll be the significance to you. And that's what happens in the chat with all this stuff. Ingrid Pitt, yeah, absolutely. You see that, where it's like we have this time together to talk comics, talk shop, talk about Lethal Weapon, talk about action movies, and being a guy in this time, in this particular period in history, man. And it's beautiful, man. It's just one go around on it.
Yeah. And I think that's a really nice way to put a bow on the show today, man. Absolutely. What a delight this was. What a bunch of fun this was, talking about the depth of the beauty of the brotherhood of Riggs and Murtaugh. I did not know these movies were so deep. And I'm just delighted. I'm going to have to buy them all on Blu-ray or whatever. And I hope you'll be my Murtaugh to my Riggs, Shanth.
I'm too old for this shit, Gabe.
Are you older than me? I'm 43. How old are you?
Yeah, I'm older than you. I'm 45.
Okay, so you'll be Murtaugh. I'll be
Riggs. And
listen,
if we're talking about raw cardio, Gabe, I'm 10 years older than you at this point. You'll be running down the street barefoot, and I'll be like in the car, the station wagon, eating the Slim Jim. It's over.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, well, hey, how do you feel about let's break down a movie that's also intense, insane next week? The Charles Bronson one, A Death Wish.
Death Wish.
I watched that last night, and I mean, it's disturbing. and my wife watched it with me. She usually falls asleep 20 minutes into the movies, and we both loved it. What a delight! It's totally different. It's not happy, that movie, but holy cow. So next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you all so much for the great comments.
Thank you, Gabe,
and for being here. What a great chat we have, and what a great friend you're turning out to be for me, Shanth. I really, really appreciate you. So thank you guys,
brother.
Let me push my new little button that I made. I made this here. I hope this works.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, I made that. I animated that. It's a little blurry. I'll have to remake a nicer one. But please subscribe, hit the like, and then try and hit the share on YouTube too. Share this out to Twitter and Facebook and all that. We're having a lot of fun here. And, it's your channel, guys. We'll have more fun if we have more people in here and a livelier chat even. The chat is amazing already. But thank you and have a great night, okay? Bye.
Absolutely, guys.